Good morning, everyone. Onan here. So it's Saturday morning. I have about 15 or 20 minutes. Uh, Joan and I are going to record a UCM episode today. With the holidays and some sickness. We haven't been able to make that happen. So we're going to record here in a little bit. If anyone would like to participate in the stream, um, I'll probably drop a StreamYard link in our Discord channel. So that's if people want to participate in that, you're welcome to do so. I don't think we'll live stream it, but that episode will come out on Sunday. And so, morning, Pikachu's. I'm glad you could show up. It was a little bit impromptu. I'm kind of waiting for Jonah to show up, and I had something I was kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. So I thought I would use it. Maybe he'll even show up for the last few minutes of this, but should be about 15, 20 minutes or so. And then we're going to be recording for UCM today. But so this is such a difficult topic to talk about. Um, because and I was kind of talking about this on Twitter yesterday, how being a father of nine is a great blessing, but it's an enormous sacrifice, and I don't think people necessarily realize the types of sacrifices that not only we as a couple make, but probably more important our children make because we have such a large family. And I'm not here to say that those sacrifices aren't warranted. I mean, we make them. We don't really have a choice in the matter now, and the kids don't really have a choice in the matter. But there's this mystique out there, and I don't know why it is. Maybe most of us don't like to talk about what the real life is like. But I kind of call them Instagram Catholics who like to, I don't know, parade around how wonderful and seemingly um, Mary Poppins like large families are, and there are times that it is that way. I mean, having the family together for the holidays was very great. I always enjoy going to midnight mass or the equivalent of midnight mass with the family, and of course, Christmas morning is always fun with all the kids. But that's not the reality most of the time. And in fact, a lot of it is a lot of suffering, and it's not just suffering by the parents. It really is suffering of the kids. My wife was we were talking last night, and one of our boys who let's see, how old is he? 10, wanted to play a game. Um, uh, but my wife's like, I can't. I have like the 2-year old will destroy it. Like there's no place we can safely play that game without, it just won't work. And so, or, kids that want to do activities, want to go somewhere, even something as simple as movies, a lot of times can't take place because it's always based on kind of what's the capacity of the youngest who are usually the most demanding. And I know that our family, our kids have sacrificed enormously um, to be part of this large family. And I think I would say I think the one thing that I think needs to be taken into account isn't the financial or social sacrifice, which is real. I mean, um, for me personally, the financial stress of trying to provide for this family is easily the most constant stress in my life. It never goes away. It's the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning, and it's what's on my mind when I go to bed at night is how am I going to financially afford this family? And it's constant, constant in my life. But I believe that there is a very significant spiritual sacrifice detrimentally that I think families endure that we don't really talk about. um, so I, for us at least, we've tried to raise our kids in the faith, set that example. Daily or Sunday mass and holy days and all that was never negotiable. Praying, things like that. Kids have been in Catholic school. I mean, we've checked most of the boxes, if you will, raising our kids. Um, but if I'm being honest, my kids, when they reach that teenage year and get out of the house, have more or less gone through that same struggle of faith that I think a lot of kids do. And it's not that they didn't necessarily have an example or that we didn't teach them the things. And maybe there's always things you could be better about. Um, but I believe my belief is that it's not enough just to teach your kids the faith or even set a good example for them, which is, I would say, necessary and important. But I think what kids really need for the faith to stick is for it to be provided to them by someone that they trust and they have a relationship with that, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I have with my older kids because, you know, I've been focused generally on either providing financially for them, so working and getting better and doing all the things that I do to try to be a good provider. And then a lot of times when I'm not working, my time is spent taking care of the younger kids to give my wife a break. We've always had a kid in diapers in our house really for the last 20 years. And our kids are very high energy. And want my wife to be able to relax a little bit. So when I come home at night, I try very hard to take care of the younger kids and on the weekends and stuff. Well, what does that mean? It means it really isn't possible for me to take the teenagers out and do things and build that bonding and connection that I think they probably need. That's my self-diagnosis there. Um, I've seen it play out with all of my kids so far, and I don't think it's I mean, no one teaches you how to do this. I think I'm a better parent than I was when I started, but I'm always trying to get better. But, it does feel a little bit like the ship has sailed a little bit with some of my older kids, especially the kids that are out of the house now. Um, that relationship of trust, I believe, needs to be created at a much earlier age. I'm not exactly sure when it is, but I think certainly those teenagers need a mom or dad that they can really open up to and be vulnerable with and trust that while they're going to be told the right things and given correction, they're always going to be met with love. And I think this is a little bit how a lot of us struggle with our relationship with God the Father. I think for a lot of us, we are constantly told all of the wrong things that we do and the consequences of that, and God's love and mercy is something that is either underemphasized or a lot of us just don't necessarily know if it's true or don't feel that in our hearts. And I think the same thing is true with our kids. And so I don't know what the answer is. Um, the problem, of course, is that as a father of 9, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? Obviously, I'm not gonna come out and say, "I wish I had less kids." And obviously, I couldn't identify a single kid that I wouldn't want in my life, and that's the problem, I think, why people don't speak a little more freely about what it's like, because that's essentially what you're doing. I remember a story my father told me. He grew up, he was the oldest boy, I think the second or third oldest kid of 15 kids. And he told me the story about when his older sister came home from college, one of the only kids to go to college, came home from college in the 60s and came, sat at the dinner table and basically told my grandma, you had way too many kids, which is probably true if we're being fair. And my grandma, as I understand it, looked at her and says, "Okay, look at your brothers and sisters. Which one of them would you choose to not have with us?" Right? Um, and that's I think that's an unfair um, a burden to put on people. I would not give up a single one of my kids, but if I could, I would give up some of the sacrifices that but more importantly, my kids have made for us to have the family we do. If if I had a magic wand and I could raise the first 5 and then the second 4 or whatever, I would do that. I would change diapers into my 70s if that's what it took. Um, but I'm just being perfectly honest here. Um, trying to provide for the basic needs of 9 children of varying ages, personalities, needs, particular struggles in their life is basically impossible. Um, and I believe that our kids would grow up more likely to practice the faith long term, uh, more likely to be healthy and well balanced if they weren't one of 9 kids at one time. That's just the truth of the matter. And and of course, well, what's the solution? I don't know what the solution is, but what I can tell you is you know we have 9 kids in no small part because we have found following the church's rules to be nearly impossible at times. With NFP, you get extended periods of abstinence, and at some point, you just need each other, and you cut corners and you get pregnant, and that's fine, whatever. But it's the truth of the matter. It's absolutely the truth of the matter because you're left with this choice. Do we continue to suffer and whatever, or do we do something that risks our eternal salvation, because that's always in the back of your mind as a Catholic? Or do we play with fire? And for us, playing with fire has always meant getting pregnant. So I it's a bit of a it's a bit of a helpless feeling, because I look back and I realize that barring some adjustment to how the church approaches these things, if we started all over again, we would end up in the same situation. Or if we had less kids, it would be because we went down a path that the church says is not morally acceptable. But there is a price to be paid. There is more than just a financial price to be paid for having a large family. I do firmly believe that at some point adding more children to your family decreases the likelihood that your other children are going to, you know, remain members of the faith. And isn't that what's the most important thing? Isn't that what we're told? The most important thing for us is to raise children for the kingdom of heaven and get our children to heaven. Well, I'm here to say whether you like it or not, that at some point having more children makes it less likely that your other children or this new child is going to get to heaven, and possibly make it less likely that mom and dad get to heaven if the what I would say the more conservative slash traditional notions of Catholic morality apply. I I'm just I will not be convinced based on my experience that anything else is true. So what does that leave us? My kids are at that age where I don't have any kids that are engaged or married yet, but I have kids that are, in serious relationships. And I'll be honest with you, it's really difficult for me to enthusiastically encourage them to become married as Catholics and to live fully as Catholics in their marriage. I'll tell them the right thing because I guess that's what we have to do, but my heart won't be in it. And if they corner me and force me to dad tell me the honest truth, I don't know what I do in that situation because I don't want to lie to my kids, but I also don't want to lead them astray. I don't know if I'm the only one. I don't see anyone out there talking about it. Maybe I'm unique, but I suspect I'm not. I suspect that the things that I've talked about here are not uncommon, but you certainly won't hear this kind of information conveyed in the polite Catholic media or amongst the Instagram Catholics out there. You just won't. And I wish it was um, more acceptable for us to be able to have these kinds of frank conversations. I mean, I'm trying to do it, but look at it. I'm hiding behind a an AI generated image of me that doesn't look like me. Okay, because it's really hard to talk about these things. And if I'm being fair and honest, I don't necessarily want my kids to know that I have these struggles, but they should know that. I mean, I when do I tell them? So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today, folks. I mean, I feel very blessed to have the family I do, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that really struggle with fertility and would, I'm sure, do just about anything to have what the life that they think I have. And I do have a wonderful life, and we have a wonderful family, and our kids are amazing people. But there is an enormous price paid that has been paid and will continue to be paid, and I'm not sure I fully appreciate the long-term, possibly eternal ramifications of the life that we have developed for ourselves, in large part out of our desire to be faithful Catholics as best that we can. So that's why I do this. That's why I feel very blessed to have this community formed around us and to be able to share stories. I get amazing messages from people all the time, and it motivates me to share at least a little bit what my experience is, what my thoughts are, and I try to be as openly transparent with you guys as I can because I think there is just a complete lack of that honesty and transparency out there in the Catholic circles. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I think Jonah will be here shortly, and we're going to go ahead and record for this week. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful Christmas with your family. I hope you have a great new year. I hope 2025 is an amazing year. It's sort of amazing as I look back, our podcast was pretty small a year ago. Christmas, we had some videos come out last year around Christmas time that kind of kickstarted us, and so like the first few months of 2024 were had enormous growth, and a lot of you that are in our community found us at that time. And so I'm trying to remind myself that we're still very young, but I feel very blessed to have all of you in my life and to be able to share your story. And I'm grateful for an opportunity to share my story with you guys. Um, so yeah, Merry Christmas, you two picking. I hope you had a wonderful time with your family, and we're going to get together with my wife's side of the family tomorrow, and then I think we're kind of done with the holiday season. So, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate anyone who watched this. I'm going to try and do more live streams going forward. It's tough to find the right time of day. I don't think anyone here wants to live stream with me at 6 a.m., but that's kind of my best time of day. But be that as it may, I wish you guys all the very best. I appreciate all your support. And until next time, everyone.